Welcome to NinjaCast, a photography podcast powered by Studio Ninja, the world's highest rated business management app, built specifically for photographers. Listen and learn as the most successful photographers on the planet share their knowledge to help you transform every element of your photography business. Here's your host, Sally Shaw.
Hi guys, welcome to NinjaCast. Today I'm joined by our good friend Ryan Welch of Freedom Edits. Today Ryan's going to cover the top marketing techniques that he can give you to catapult your business to success. We'll talk a little bit about the onboarding process with Freedom Edits and why you should be considering outsourcing your photography or videography. Let's get started. Hi Ryan, how are you?
I'm really good, thanks. How's things?
Yeah, really well, thank you. Thank you so much for joining us. It's a real pleasure to chat.
No problem at all. It's my absolute pleasure. We love our friends at Studio Ninja.
Absolutely. Yeah, we love Freedom. And I know that you guys have got so much going on at the moment. So it's going to be really exciting for our listeners to hear all about it.
Yeah, totally. It's been a interesting and turbulent year, shall we say. I think everyone could agree with me there.
Absolutely, definitely. So where are you at the moment? Tell us a little bit about what you've done over the last couple of months.
Cool. So we're based in the UK, and obviously we've been in and out of lockdown and all sorts of restrictions and stuff going on. Mm-hmm. So I actually ran away from the UK about 3 months ago. I jumped on a plane to Spain, and yeah, I've kind of just been meandering around Spain for a couple of weeks, which has been great. You know, I think the last 10 years I have been just like business, work, grew my photography brand, started Freedom Edits. So whilst, you know, Freedom especially has launched a ton of new stuff and we've improved our offering and rebranded a new website and stuff in the last 3-4 months, it's been really good to be able to take a little bit of a step back and kind of enjoy some Ryan time. It's been amazing.
Absolutely. I bet you, especially with we'll go into in a second the whole history behind Freedom and where it all started and the journey and things, sure. But I bet it was amazing just to kind of step back from that. And, you know, although, yes, the time that we're going through now is not
ideal circumstances.
No, but I bet it was really nice to just go, actually, you know, I can step back and just have a bit of me time.
Totally. It was a really good opportunity for me to, work on handing stuff over to other team members as well, because there's never been a great opportunity for me to do that. We're still a pretty small, compact team, especially at a marketing and sales level and stuff. Yeah. And it is a bit all hands on deck a lot of the time. So this has been a really good opportunity for me to be able to step back, work on processes and systems and training videos, just so I can hand some of that stuff over. So awesome. Yeah, it's been a very weird year, but I'm a big believer in making the best out of any situation, and I think we've done that. I think we've worked hard to achieve that.
Amazing, great. Fantastic. So talk to our listeners a little bit about Freedom's journey, where Freedom all started, even kind of prior to Freedom, your journey into the industry.
Yeah, totally. So I started my photography brand when I was probably shooting weddings and stuff when I was 16, 17. I wasn't registered and paying tax and stuff then, a little bit cash in hand and a little bit dodgy. But I should do. But I kind of registered around my 18th birthday, which would have been 2009-ish, I think, and kind of started shooting weddings then whilst I was at uni. So I graduated uni, was shooting maybe 20 weddings a year, something like that at that point, and left. So I graduated uni in, say, January. I think you kind of stop. And then I quit my part-time job that I also had at the time and opened my own studio in the March, April time, something like that. So, and then I quit the job. So I pretty much went from uni straight into full-time photography, which was a hell of a journey. So much hard work, but I wouldn't change it for the world. But we very quickly grew the photography brand. We shot up to about 200 weddings a year, I think, at one point. And then Freedom very much took over my entire life after that. So the photography brand is a lot smaller now. I've definitely scaled that back from where it was headed, just because I realized that I really needed, I'm a little bit of a control freak. I will put my hand up and admit that. I'm almost proud of it. So I very much knew that running an associate photography brand was something that I was never going to be that comfortable doing, because I wasn't built that way. So I stepped away from that a little bit over the last maybe 10 months or so, perhaps. And end of last year was our last kind of big wedding photography year, regardless of Corona. Thankfully, Corona did, not thankfully, but Corona did step in and make that a reality as well. But yeah, that's kind of where we're at now. So we got to shooting about 50 weddings a year and realized that outsourcing was a problem for us. We were outsourcing our editing to other companies at that point and just weren't getting consistent results. So Freedom Edits was very much born out of frustration through our own experiences, I guess. And yeah, we decided to do something about it and launch Freedom, which was super exciting.
Fantastic.
Best thing I ever did.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, do you look back and think that was definitely the journey that you thought you were always going to take, or did Freedom kind of come out of nowhere?
No, no, Freedom did kind of come out of nowhere. And I mean, Freedom Edits began as a, how can I explain it? We kind of like took on two editors, but we took on one editor, and then took on another one, and we kind of picked up some clients. And it was very much, Freedom was designed to just serve Ryan Welch photography, right? Yeah. It was, okay, and like, we're going to have these editors here. So like, if we can pick up some other clients to kind of like manage, like pay some of their salary and stuff like that would be great. And then all of a sudden, the very personalized service that we were offering just spread like wildfire. Like those few clients that we had just started telling more and more and more people. And now all of a sudden, we're probably up to 75, 80 editors at this point. But we're kind of bringing in new people all the time. And it very much took over. And for me, what I really loved about it was I'd always wanted a company that was able to help people, because I know that, especially being an entrepreneur and working for yourself is so difficult. And I think that's very much underestimated in our industry. So Freedom very much filled a hole for me that I almost didn't know that I had, but I very much felt very like accomplished being able to serve people in that way, I guess.
Yeah, there's nothing quite like it in the industry, I don't think, or certainly, especially when Freedom was born. It was very unique, wasn't it? You know, there wasn't that, tell me how you edit, let me learn how you edit, and let me learn your process.
Totally. And what we say about people, we get a lot of inquiries all the time from, I guess, newer photographers that I'm trying not to directly quote an inquiry that we just had, but it's very much like, I don't know my style yet, I'm still new. I just want to send you weddings and you make the best of them. And those really aren't our clients. We always say that if you come to us with that, you're never going to be happy with the result that we give you, because everybody's going to look at an image and think that it should be edited in a slightly different way, right? Like, you're going to open that catalog, you're going to be like, I'm not sure I would have done that with it. Tweak it a little bit, be like, oh, that looks loads better, because we were never given a brief to start with. You were just kind of like, oh, just like do what you can with it, right? So I can't really remember what your direct question was then, but we're very much set it up for kind of experienced photographers, I guess. Not so much experience, but photographers who know what they want and they know what that final product needs to look like. And then we have a completely personalized onboarding experience. So that onboarding experience consists of a 45-minute Zoom call. And on that Zoom call, you're going to show us some before and afters. You're going to show us a little bit about how you edit, how you achieve that final look, talk us through what presets you use, what camera systems you use. And from there, we're then able to gain a really good understanding about what you as a photographer expect your work to look like when we return it to you. Without that key piece of information, it's really difficult for us to do our job. That's very much why we created such a personalized service, which, to be honest, has been the most difficult part of scaling Freedom Edits, and making it an option for lots and lots of photographers. But we've kind of got around those problems now. But yeah, lots of automation and lots of really in-depth database work. But we're really proud of what we've created, and our customers are super happy with the work that we give them. It's been a journey, but it's a worthwhile one.
Most definitely. So, I mean, just touching back there a little bit on something that you'd said, in terms of the photographers out there that maybe sat listening to this that think, well, I don't know my style. I don't know exactly what I want my images to look like right now. So, perhaps, yes, maybe they need to kind of hone in on that a little bit more. What would you suggest are things that they could do to try and learn the style that they like, or, really look inside themselves to see what they gravitate to?
I think one of the most important things is understanding that the light, the conditions, the posing that you shoot in, for example, I was going with light there. So the light that you shoot in and the posing that you do has a really big impact over the final aesthetic about what your images look like, And I think it's very easy for us to scroll Instagram and find photographers' work that we love. But it's really hard to duplicate that in maybe different light in a different country, or if you gravitate as a photographer towards really super cuddly, lovey-dovey posing, then you're going to really struggle to make those images look edgy and to look really cool and fashion inspired. I think everybody has this artistic streak, and trying to rip that out of yourself and replace it with something else is incredibly difficult. So I think just being true to who you are and what your vision is super important. And then just putting the hours in, and just getting out there and shooting. I know there's a bit of a thing in the industry about shooting for free and all this stuff. But I think when you're in that stage of your business, of your career, shooting for free is something that you probably should be doing. There's no pressure, there's no expectations, as long as you kind of tell the people that you're shooting for free. Maybe don't go out and shoot a 10 grand wedding for free where people have got these huge expectations. But just setting the expectations right with those clients from the very beginning is where all that groundwork comes in. It's where you gain that experience. It's where you've got a few thousand raw files to play with in Lightroom and to really honing your editing style, and just watching a ton of YouTube videos and all that kind of stuff. I think that aspect of photography and figuring out what your style is something that you can only really achieve by grafting, and just being a bit scrappy and getting the hours in.
Definitely. I mean, I know I shot for free when I first started, probably 6 years ago now. I went out and I second shot with photographers, and I was just I don't care about being paid. I just want to experience those weddings and be at them and have those images to play with.
It's all about, getting in the hours to really hone in on your craft. And if you don't put the time in and you don't accept that, you're not going to make money, but you're not going to make good money from this instantly. You're going to pack it in within 6 months. If you think you can just pick up a camera and your work's going to look like Jose Villa's, then honey, that ain't going to happen. We're all trying. We are all trying to make our work look like that. But, it's a process. And I think, photography is, what's that saying? It's something like, it takes 10,000 hours to master a skill or something like that. And I always remember my mum saying it when I was learning to play piano when I was a tiny little kid. But it's all practice, to be a photographer that's going to be able to deliver a consistent wedding gallery. You need to be able to walk into any venue in any country and be able to spot the pockets of light that are going to suit your style. And if you're not able to do that, maybe you're not ready to, I'm not going to say necessarily charge for photography, because I don't think that's true, but charge, maybe what your end goal is for photography, right?
Absolutely. So obviously, I mean, Ryan Welch Photography, Ryan Welch Freedom Edits, I've had huge success over the past several years. What's your secret? What would you say to our listeners is the key to growing a successful business?
You know what? I find this question really difficult to answer because I very much believe in hard work as a person, whether or not that's right or wrong. And I believe that you can't, unless you've got a crap ton of money, you can't get anywhere by just paying other people to do stuff for you a lot of the time. And I think maybe this isn't true. I don't know. The more I say it, the more I don't believe it. But you have to put the hours in. You have to put the graft in. You have to, like with wedding photography, especially, you have to put the hours in building relationships. And I don't just mean relationships with clients. I mean relationships with vendors. I've never charged a vendor to use one of my images. I've always built a good relationship with them and just, built that relationship, asked for the credit, become their friend. And I'm always credited in those images when they use them. Well, as far as I know, I guess I maybe wouldn't know if I wasn't. But, we're still tagged in tons and tons of images every week from vendors that we've worked with because they respect what we do, because we've shown them our value as photographers, and we've been more than happy to share our work with them in thing for them tagging us on Instagram. Sorry, I completely lost my words and I had a notification come up on my computer. But I think I read a book, and this is a book that I will never forget reading, by a guy called Seth Godin, called The Purple Cow. And that book it's tiny. It's like 60, 80 pages or something. Like, it's not a big read. It's an easy read. It's very conversational. It's a book that I think everybody who's in business should read. And it basically talks about how you don't have to be the first to be successful in any industry. Like, we're all wedding photographers. There are millions of wedding photographers across the world, right? We are in no way unique as such in the fact that we're wedding photographers. The way that we're unique is in the service that we offer, the products we offer, that style that we shoot in, the style that we edit in, whatever that looks like. And it basically talks about how you don't need to be the first, you just need to be remarkable. And by remarkable, he means something that people will talk about and something that people remember. So for me, from a wedding photography standpoint, we used to shoot weddings, and then we used to do slideshows in the evening. And we didn't just do like slideshows on a laptop. We bought a projector with us. We bought a huge screen with us, and we projected it right before the first dance. And I know for some photographers that sounds so corny. Like, like some photographers die when I talk about it. But it wasn't about that. It wasn't about that like flashy element. It was just about doing something different that no other photographers in our area at the time were doing, because they couldn't be bothered. Like, we were going that extra mile. We were editing 80 images whilst they were eating. And then we were lugging this blooming projector and this huge, like, the cars that I ruined from that projector screen, you would have no idea.
I can imagine.
I took my last lease back, and the guy was like, "What have you done to the armrest?" It was just all torn up. And I was like, "Yeah, it's where the projector keeps dragging it every time I throw it in the car at midnight after a wedding." But that just became something that we were known for, right? If you've got two photographers, and say I, as a random person, if someone comes up to me and says, "I'm looking for a wedding photographer," and I know two photographers, the one goes out and just shoots weddings, and the other one goes out, shoots weddings. There's this amazing slideshow that I witnessed at a recent wedding, and all the guests were crying, and afterwards, like, the bride and groom were like so happy, they were elated. And I tell you about both of these photographers, which one are you going to remember when it comes to inquiry, right? You're going to remember the one that did something a little bit different that maybe you like, that maybe you as a customer wouldn't like that slideshow idea. And we've had customers ask us not to do it. Maybe a handful. But yeah, for us, it was just about doing something remarkable. And then in terms of freedom, that remarkable thing became our onboarding call. Because, if someone's in a Facebook group asking for referrals for an image editing company, and loads of people are I'm not going to say our competitors' names, like recommending competitors. And then somebody says, oh, I've just onboarded with Freedom. I had like this hour-long call with them. It was amazing. I showed them how I edited, like they use my presets. They do all these things. They got to know me as a person, as a business. They got to understand why I shoot weddings. They got to understand why I want to outsource so that they could serve me in the best way possible. Like, whose website are you going to go to?
Yeah.
You're going to go to the person that's been raving about you, and the company that's been recommended as doing something completely different.
Yeah.
And to be honest, that was fairly unintentional, but it has become that remarkable thing.
Yeah.
We just started it because I knew as a photographer when I was struggling to outsource, I wanted to just jump on a call with someone, show them what I wanted them to do, and then for that to take an hour, and then for me not to have to like keep pushing these galleries back and forth to get them right. So I very much just started Freedom to serve my own desire for that service, right?
Yeah.
But it turned out to be a service that a load of other people really enjoyed and a load of other people really wanted to be a part of, which was amazing.
Definitely. And in terms of marketing techniques that you've perhaps tried and tested over the years, be it with the photography side or the Freedom side, what do you find has been most useful? What can our listeners perhaps take away that, they can think, well, I can go and implement that or try that on my business?
Yeah, totally. I think one thing in terms of like marketing techniques, I think everybody focuses really heavily these days on social media, and that if you're that way inclined, then 100% go with what you're naturally drawn to and what you're naturally like good at, I guess. Like if you really enjoy being on Instagram all day and like building relationships that way, then go for it. But I think a lot of photographers these days think that to build a successful photography brand, you've got to have like 20,000 followers, and you've got to be doing reels all day, and you've got to focus on beating the algorithm and getting everyone to save your posts and share your posts and all this stuff. But there are other ways to build businesses. We very much started, like when I started shooting weddings, it was like Facebook was the place to be. And I still believe that Facebook is incredibly powerful as a marketing machine for photography business, maybe more so than Instagram from my experience. But you would finish a wedding, we'd have done the slideshows, so we'd have like 80 images ready. By the time the bride and groom woke up the next day, there'd be 80 images on Facebook. They were tagged in them, all their friends shared them because you could do that back then. And we built a Facebook audience, right? Now things are slightly different now. And I personally still think that if you go to a wedding venue and you book your wedding and they recommend a photographer to you, those people are very likely to at least go on your website. If the venue says, there's always going to be some couples, and I don't know how much I believe what I actually believe for this point. Like, I think there's two sides to every story, right? There always is.
Yeah.
There are wedding couples that know exactly what they want from their wedding photography. And then there are other couples that don't know anything about photography, and they really don't have a preference. They just want to go with somebody where they know what they're going to get, and they're going to get a good service. They're going to have a good time. They're going to get really great photos. And they're not too concerned about the editing style. They're not too concerned about all this other stuff that I think, like, as artists, we really heavily focus on, right? So one of our biggest marketing techniques was building great relationships with wedding venues. And I know that isn't anything new. And I'm really sorry that I don't have the top tip of 2020 about how you can book 100 weddings next year. Like, I really wish that I did, because I'd be in a penthouse apartment right now. But I still think that building relationships as a wedding photographer, it's such a personal experience for wedding couples. Building relationships has got to be one of the most important marketing techniques that they can be. And I also think that reputation is incredibly important in treating people with decency. Like, photographers typically work in a local industry. Most towns, cities aren't that big, especially like in the UK where we were based. We're based in South Wales, and if like, we're very lenient with our terms and conditions, we're very lenient with our contracts, especially during all this kind of Corona stuff. I think it's important to have a contract in place to protect you and the client. I don't think I've ever booked a wedding without a contract, even when I first started. I think it's very important, but I think showing human decency at the same time. If they go and they say to 10 people, our photographer wouldn't give us a refund and it was completely unreasonable and all this stuff, that could potentially damage your business more than what losing the, I don't know, £52,000 or whatever it is, money that they'd paid you, right? We're always very, very careful about that. No, there are some instances where, it's very clear and outlined in the contract, but when something like a international pandemic comes around, I think maybe people should.
It throws you off, doesn't it? As
totally
people in general, let alone businesses and self-employed little companies, we've never experienced anything like this before, and probably never will.
Absolutely not. I really hope we never will again. I will say, but this is all completely uncharted territory. Like, I've got some friends that work for that have got some really high level positions in some really big companies. And even those companies are saying the exact same things as we are. They don't have contingencies for these things. They don't have buckets of money lying around for, them having to bring in no or very little income or 10% of the usual income in 2020 compared to other years. There's no playbook. There's no person out there that can tell you how to deal with this. And I think it's very much just down to human decency, and everything in life is a risk, and you've just got to evaluate what you think is going to be the least risky option to take, whether that comes down to deciding to pivot into a slightly different sector of the industry for now and coming back to weddings later, or whether that comes down to weighing up the risk of refunding somebody and losing £2,000 that they've paid you, or saying no to that and then potentially going to the press even. And and I don't want to scare people, but that is a really big, the CMA guidelines in the UK that came out terrified a lot of photographers. Absolutely was terrifying. And we've had clients come back to us and kind of bring that up. So, it's all about risk evaluation and saying, okay, if I do this, what's going to Happen? What could potentially happen even? Or if I take this other option, what could potentially happen? It's hard. It's really, really difficult situation to be in.
Definitely. So I think from everything that you've just said there, really your top marketing tip of 2020 is to be a good human being, be a nice person.
Be a really good human being, be nice to people, appreciate where people are coming from. The public are terrified, as business owners we're terrified. Well, I am anyway. I don't know about everyone else. Totally right. And we don't know what's going to happen. And I will say there's no point in worrying about the unknown. I've always believed that. And that's part of the reason I came to Spain, right? I thought that I've got an opportunity now to do something that I would never, ever, ever usually get the opportunity to do.
Especially at this time of year.
So for example, I'm actually here now. I'm supposed to be flying home in about 10 days time. England has just gone into, I don't know when this is being released, but England has just gone back into lockdown, and all the flights from here have been cancelled. There's very few flights now where our kind of budget airlines have stopped flying here because nobody is allowed to fly here. So I don't really know how I'm getting home yet. But we'll figure it out. It's all going to be fine. It's all fine.
Really, and that was always
drive. And a really long ferry journey. I don't quite know. But that was a risk. I knew that when I came here, that was a risk that could potentially happen. Luckily, I'm in a really fortunate position where, if I have to stay here for another couple of weeks, that would be fine. I could deal with that, financially. Obviously, I could deal with that.
I could deal with
it. To stay in the sun for a few
weeks.
No problem.
Ryan.
I'll over that. It'd be great. But, it's this risk evaluation, right? I know that I don't have any weddings to go back to until the new year now. So if that happens, that's fine. That's a risk that I was willing to take. But, it's all good. So be a good human.
Let's talk a little bit more about Freedom. Can you delve a little bit more? What services do you offer? kind of a little bit more in detail about the packages, the subscriptions that you do, just to give people a bit more detail about, so they've heard about Freedom.
Totally.
I'm sure our listeners are like,
what do we actually do?
Their seats.
Yeah, I've just realized I've not actually said anything about what we do this entire time. So I'm very much just up for chatting. We're not very good at the other stuff.
Absolutely, that's what we're here for.
So we are a full service post-production company, I guess you would call us, for photographers and videographers. We also edit films. We offer a full range of photo editing services, from culling and editing through to delivery of complete wedding films. So we do color grading, all that good stuff. Audio thinking, all that. You should receive like a completely finished film. It's not we'll do 50% of the work and then you kind of polish it off, which I know is what a lot of other companies offer in that industry. We are probably the most personalized outsourcing company there is in terms of our onboarding process. Like I was saying before, you jump on a call with one of our call handlers. They're going to run you through what we need from you as a customer, what you should expect from us. They can answer any questions about like pricing and monthly plans. We do our Freedom annual membership, which we call our FAM, be part of the FAM, which is quite fun.
Love that.
And that entitles you to like faster turnaround times, and you save a lot of money, actually. I think up to about 30%, depends on what plan you go with. Okay. So yeah, we very much focus on delivering a personalized service. You're able to jump on a call with one of our account handlers if you ever wanted to like change your style, or maybe chat to us about recent weddings and things you'd want changed. It's very much, like I said before, born very much out of frustration, where I was using other companies to edit my work when we were shooting a lot less weddings. And I wanted to just jump on a call and show them a wedding they'd return to me and tell them what I would do differently. So that's kind of where we differ, I guess. So yeah, as being a Freedom customer, you can very much expect to be able to receive a final product that you're able to deliver to your client.
Yeah. Amazing. That sounds like the dream to me. And I know that
it is for a lot of our photographers.
Yeah, definitely. I think I've personally used Freedom as a photographer, and the weight load that it took off for me was just phenomenal.
Totally.
I was shooting between 40 and 50 weddings a year, and I got to a point kind of April, May time, and I just went, how am I going to edit?
Yeah.
I can't.
And that is a position that a lot of our new inquiries are in when they inquire. And you often can see, and this is what like is my emotional pull for doing this, you can often see the desperation in that contact form. And that is what I hate about this industry, is everyone feels like they're like an artist and they have to do everything themselves. And I just want everyone to know, I want all the photographers across the land to know that there are options out there for you. And Freedom might not be the best fit. Like we may not do what you want us to do, and that's absolutely fine. But you don't have to do everything yourself. There are people out there that you can outsource stuff to, and you don't need to feel like less of an artist just because you're outsourcing your post-production. Now, for some people, outsourcing their post-production isn't the answer. They're too particular and they don't have a consistent style that a company like Freedom Edits are able to deliver. We're not able to look at one of the weddings you've edited and delivered and like replicate that in future work, because you don't want that. But then maybe you get a VA and you outsource a lot of your studio management stuff and you train them up to be able to manage Studio Ninja for you and to input new bookings. And I'm sure your inquiry form does all that. But, like it's, there are other options out there. People don't need to do all of this stuff themselves. And one thing I'd say, if people are out there and looking to start outsourcing, like I was just saying, like outsourcing your editing isn't for everybody, but it can be one of the easiest and most beneficial ways of being able to grow your business, if that's what you want to do. Or it's one of the easiest, like we have clients that now homeschool their children because because they don't have to edit anymore. That was a dream that they always had, but their business took up too much of the time. And now they can manage their business in 2-3 hours in the evening because they're not having to sit at a computer all day and edit their images. We have other clients that have started other businesses because they've been able to outsource their editing, and now they've got multiple streams of income.
Yeah.
You know, like this allows you to do so many different things. It can allow you to follow your dreams and be free. You know, like as corny as that sounds, like as a person, I'm dying inside having just said that. That isn't me at all, but it is true. You know, like we hear success stories of every day about some photographers that just felt like there was no light at the end of the tunnel, and they were. I feel like I'm like talking to Tony Robbins or something.
It's a counselling session.
Yeah. I love it, but no, they're very much like, I was going to have to quit my business because I knew that I couldn't carry on doing this. Like, I've got 2 small kids and blah, blah, blah. You know, we hear these stories every day, and we're able to slot into that person's business and become part of their team, you know, and we're able to allow them to grow and to expand their team without having the cost of bringing in full-time staff or part-time staff and having that commitment to pay them. You know, we're able to provide that service, and that's something that I'm really, really proud of.
Definitely, you should be. I think hearing you say that, it feels a bit like where Studio Ninja came from as well for me. You know.
Yeah, totally. These companies were born out of very similar pain points completely.
Yeah. It's
and as a photography studio, and as a photography studio, we've always used Studio Ninja, and you know, I've used it. God, it must be about 5 years now, maybe. How long's it been running? We were pretty new starting with it, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah, and to be honest, as a photography brand, we don't use it anywhere near to its full potential. But you know, like I said, that isn't my focus anymore. But I know I still get all the update emails and stuff, and what you guys are doing is phenomenal. It's going to be, you can see it, you can just, and what I love about Studio Ninja is how quickly you're able to act on people's like suggestions and all that kind of stuff. You can tell it's a real close-knit team that is really focused on delivering an exceptional customer service.
100%.
And we're probably in like a similar position where we're small enough to be able to do that still, but we're big enough to have the resources to make changes when we need to.
Definitely. I think there's very few businesses out there that I think that come from the heart in a way, isn't it? You know, a lot of people set up a business because it's, you know, it's a money maker and they want to be a big name in the industry and things like that. And I think Freedom very much are quite the opposite of that, and it is all about helping people and giving them their life.
It's very much a labor of love. It's, you know, if we wanted to make a crap ton of money in the photography industry, there would be much easier ways to do it, let me tell you.
Definitely. So, I mean, Ryan, for people out there that have heard all this and they're thinking outsourcing, great, sounds amazing. Freedom sounds amazing. I'm still a bit worried. I'm still a bit scared about handing over the reins of my images and my business really to a post-production company. What would you say to those people?
I would say that for anyone that comes through this podcast, you're able to get 50% off your first order. Just so you can give it a go, you go through the onboarding system, you book your Zoom call, you show us how you edit, you open up Lightroom, we want to see the ins and outs, we want to see how you use your preset. We do test images, it's all completely free of charge. If you like the test, you can then place an order, and for that order, you're going to get 50% off it as well. All you need to do to claim that is go to freedomedits.com/Studio Ninja. There'll be a page there set up that'll automatically tag you as having a discount code and stuff.
Awesome.
And then also, as a company, we offer re-edits. So like your first wedding, for example, it may come back and it's not 100% where you want it to be. Like, we are not magicians. We cannot climb inside your mind and figure out exactly how you want to edit the wedding. We always say it's going to take 3, maybe 4 weddings for us, a little bit of back and forth. And most of the feedback that we get, for example, is like, this wasn't perfect for the first wedding, but I can't believe how close it was. Like, that's a really common phrase that comes back.
Yeah.
And I know that because I've been really digging into feedback lately and kind of like at different stages to see what it looks like, to see how we can improve that. And I think that really sums it up for me, is like we get on a Zoom call with you, you show us how you edit a wedding, and you send over a completely different wedding. We then start building that database of information on you, so that when we open a wedding that you send over, we've got, okay, like this is similar light to here, and they made it look like this, so that's what we're going to copy.
Yeah.
And that's very much how Freedom works. You know, it's that continual building of that database, which is really the secret as to how we're able to get better as time goes on, right? And we will offer re-edit. We'll re-edit a wedding as many times as we need to make sure that it's in line with what you want to deliver. Absolutely.
I know that when I used Freedom, obviously this year is a little bit of a write-off for me, especially. I've shot 2 weddings in the entirety of this year, one in January, and I did one just at the back end of October, and that's me done for the entire year.
Crazy. I mean, I've shot one.
It's mental, but yeah, next year 100%. I personally, you know, with my photography business, will be back to Freedom and you know, getting rid of that workload for myself. But I mean, going back to kind of the year before, when I was sending all of my weddings to Freedom, I definitely got to that point where I could open a gallery and it was done. I literally had to make maybe 1-2 tiny tweaks in the entire catalog, and it was just exported to the client. Like, it was that easy.
Yeah. And I mean, in the interest of transparency, our goal is to get those catalogs about 90% of the way there, right? Now, that 10%, what you do with that 10% is going to depend on who you are as a person, right? If you're a huge perfectionist, you're going to fix that 10% and make sure that it's 100% before you deliver it. But other photographers are absolutely fine with delivering that 90-95% level. Our goal is to get it, like I said, to 90%, and then from there, if you want to go in and make some slightly more advanced tweaks and all that kind of stuff, go in and do some additional clone healing to get rid of spots and stuff, then, you know, that's entirely up to you. But you know, we do the best we can, and I can genuinely say everybody on this team does the very best that they can. And we're always open to communication. That's super important to us.
I mean, I actually think that my style of editing isn't the easiest to replicate. So the fact that Freedom...
It isn't, Sally.
The fact that Freedom got to that point where they were like, you know, they were there, is a real testament to the editing team there, and to the, you know, to the onboarding team, and to the back and forth communication that you genuinely listen to. You know, it's not a case of, you know, you say, oh, can we just tweak this for the next catalog, and it doesn't happen. It 100% does. It comes back much more improved the next time round. So yeah, definitely.
Totally.
I think my weddings are probably one of the ones that Freedom will say, we got there.
We got there in the end, yeah. No, and do you know what is, everybody really enjoys the challenge of that also. You know, like we're not the company to just be like, okay, this is what we do, and like, if you don't like it, go somewhere else.
Yeah.
If within our like processes and systems, we're able to adapt to get to where you want to be, then we absolutely will do that. If it is just a case of it being a learning curve, then like, absolutely, we're going to jump on an hour-long call with you so you can really dive in and kind of show us what you would do differently. 100%, we're willing to make that investment because we appreciate you as a business supporting us, right? We're not ones to shy away from hard work.
Definitely, I love it. So if you could start your career all over again, is there anything you would do differently?
I don't know. I think when I started my career, so I went to uni and I did a fashion photography course.
Yeah.
I think my time at university would have been spent better doing a different course, like maybe some kind of business course, business studies course, or like accounting, or learning that side of business. Yeah. Maybe a marketing course, like whatever that looked like. I definitely didn't. I don't think when I was at university level, even when I started the company, I don't think I really realized how ambitious I was going to be, and realized the the size of what I was trying to achieve.
Mm-hmm.
And I think I would have approached the starting of both businesses slightly differently if I had have realized that. But I can't say there's anything I would have changed. I think everything happens for a reason. And I think without some of those mistakes that we made early on, you know, like paying someone $5,000 to set up Google Ads for us when we really didn't have the money to do that.
Yeah.
Because I thought that was the golden ticket that was going to get us to that place, right? That was a risk that I took that didn't pay off. And I was paying that off my credit card for the next year probably at that point, right? Like, but without that, I wouldn't have known that Google Ads really weren't for us. And I would have maybe spent 30 grand on it when we would have tried it with Freedom a few years later, and that wouldn't have worked either. So, you know, who knows? Everything happens for a reason. And I think making mistakes is fine as long as you learn from them.
For sure, definitely. If you could add one final piece of advice for our listeners, maybe something that's made a big difference in your life personally or in your business life, what would you say that piece of advice would be?
I, a few months ago, read a book called, I think it's called The Art of Getting Things Done.
I've heard of that.
I'm sure that's what it's called. And that really, it's funny because I was reading it and I was doing a lot of the things in that book anyway, because that came, like, I'm a fairly efficient person, and I'm like kind of built that way in my head anyway. Yeah. And one of the biggest things that he talks about is that it's really difficult to be productive when you have a mind full of, like, your brain is reminding you to do things constantly. Yeah. So he talks about doing like a brain dump. And you basically, anything that's in your head, you just like write on a piece of paper in a journal, or like I use Asana, for example, because our entire team uses it. It's really easy to like project manage and stuff. I love Asana. If anyone is looking for anything like that, I 100% recommend Asana for that. So everything that I think of, everything that I have to do goes into an Asana board, and I review that weekly. So I will like be sat on the sofa and something will come up and I will throw that. Like, you could write it in a notebook, you can write it in notes on your phone. I personally put it on Asana. I've got the app on my phone, it's easy to do. And then every week I go through that and I say, right, okay, of all these things that I've like thought of, and this could be like business ideas, it can be marketing ideas. My mum's birthday, I suddenly remembered the other day and I had to throw on there, you know, like all this stuff. Yeah. And I will just go through that weekly and be like, right, okay, like, and then I move it then into months of when I'm going to do those things. And that for me allows me to shut off. And I think being able to shut off from a business is incredibly important to not burn out. Yeah. So yeah, that's my one piece of advice that I've really been working hard on the last, like, since the beginning of the year maybe, and has really helped me be able to have work time and personal time and not have those two. I think as an entrepreneur and as a business person, they always cross over. And I think it's very difficult to have, okay, I finish at 5 and I start work at 9 sort of thing. Like, I think that is really hard for a business person to do. Kudos to you if you can do that. I certainly cannot. I never switch off. But just being able to write that stuff down and then just be able to forget about it, rather than me sat there thinking like, oh, don't forget mum's birthday, don't forget mum's birthday for 3 days, is has been a game changer for me. My stress levels.
Love it. Fantastic.
There you go.
So if our listeners would like to find out some more about Freedom, how can they do that?
Sure. So our website is hands down the best place to do that. With what we do, there's a lot that goes into it. We offer different levels of editing. We offer different pricing for culling and like all that stuff. So the website is definitely the best place to go. Go on there, read as much as you can. And then if you think it's a good fit, just fill out the Get Started survey. Like I said before, if you want to claim that 50% off your first order, just head to freedomedits.com/Studio Ninja, and that will register you for that.
Fantastic. Lovely. Well, I am so pleased to have got to chat and catched up with you. It's been a real
Absolutely.
pleasure.
It was great to chat again.
You too, Ryan. I'll see you soon. Thanks so much.
Thanks so much, Sal. Bye-bye.
Okay guys, that's everything from me today. Thank you so much to Ryan for taking time out of his day in sunny Spain to come and chat with us and give us a little bit more insight into Freedom Edits. If you'd like to have a look at the show notes, you can head to www.studioninja.co/episode 21. Please don't forget to rate us on the platform that you're listening on. A little bit of love goes a very long way. See you next time.
Thanks for listening to this episode of NinjaCast, brought to you by Studio Ninja. Beautifully designed and super easy to use, Studio Ninja will help you manage your leads, clients, shoots, invoices, contracts, workflows, and so much more. To learn more or start your 30-day free trial, go to www.studioninja.co.